Welcome to the 475th Fighter Group Landing Operations Training video. Our objective today is not to emulate real life or to create a procedure without purpose. The procedure we will discuss today is meant to enhance teamwork, prevent collisions, and produce more fun for everyone. Our goal is to safely land multiple aircraft efficiently and safely with a minimum of voice communication. Air forces around the world accomplish this using the overhead traffic pattern. They land multiple aircraft in a compressed time frame safely. If you learn only one thing today, let it be this: long straight-in approaches are to be avoided. They are dangerous. You cannot see under the nose. Many real-world collisions have been caused by straight-in approaches at uncontrolled airfields. They are not efficient. You block the entire traffic flow for an extended period of time by flying a straight-in approach. Most importantly, they are not cool. Look the part. You are pretending to be a fighter pilot, not a transport pilot, hauling rubber chickens into Hong Kong. We will be using the F-86 Sabre for the lesson, but the basic procedure is the same in other aircraft. Speeds and technique may vary, but the process remains the same. The first order of business is to determine the runway to land on. Runways are numbered according to their approximate compass bearing. The group leader will determine the landing runway for the entire group. Each flight or element will plan accordingly. Let's talk about the overhead pattern procedure itself. Here is our runway. We must fly to the initial point. The initial point is a point on the extended center line of the landing runway, approximately 1 to 3 miles from the runway. We should cross the initial point at 1,000 feet above ground level at 325 knots in the Sabre. From the initial point, we're going to fly to the break point at 325 knots, 1,000 AGL. At the break point, power to idle, speed breaks out, a level 4G turn is commenced. Continue slowing, flaps and gear down at 185 knots, slow to 160 knots. When the wingtip is aligned with the end of the runway, start your turn to final. Stay above 150 knots until wings level on final. Each pilot should delay his brake 2 or 3 seconds after the pilot in front of him. The radio calls required are very simple. The flight or element lead will make the initial point radio call. Here we are in the aircraft approaching the initial point, approximately 1,000 feet AGL. At the initial point, I'll make my radio call. You can hear the speed brakes deploy as I slow down. 1,000 feet above the ground, I am aiming for 325 knots. At the midpoint of the runway, I'm going to go to power to idle. Speed brakes out, initiate my brake turn. You can see my brake turn is a little nose high. That's okay. You just don't want to get below 1,000 AGL to avoid conflicting with traffic in the pattern. Continue slowing with the speed brakes out. Roll wings level. As you slow to 185 knots, you're going to put the flaps down and the gear. I am looking at the controls in the video purely as for demonstration purposes. This is not good technique. Looking down the wingtip, when I see the runway end align with the wingtip, I'm going to initiate my final turn. For our final turn, we're going to maintain 160 knots until we roll wings level on final. On final, we will slow to our final landing speed. Speed control is of paramount importance during this turn. It's very easy to get slow and cause a stall, which would likely be fatal at this altitude. Here you see the turn to final from the cockpit. Speed brakes out on short final if the speed is high. After touchdown, we want to keep the nose off the runway and take advantage of aerodynamic braking. When landing in group operations, do not stop short. Remember, your entire flight is landing behind you. Be sure you can stop in the remaining distance, but allow the aircraft to roll to the end of the runway. This will allow those behind you plenty of room to get the aircraft down. If there is a taxiway at the end of the runway, clear the runway properly. Runways without exits at the end may require special procedures. Query your group leader if you notice such a situation. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed this training video.